June 11th, 1998, the day John went missing, he informed his supervisor to tell him that he didn't want to take a new position within the department as a firearms instructor, that he was offered and instead wanted to stay as a canine deputy. John was a canine deputy for 3 years, and his dog Bosco lived with him at home. Early into his outing on that day, John came across a teacher with a group of kids whose classroom he actually had recently visited with his canine partner Bosco. John stopped to talk. He told the group of his route to the summit of a 9,400-foot Mount Baldwin Powell, 20 miles off. He said he'd be back around sunset, and then he continued running. So we don't know exactly what time John took off. It wasn't in the records, but we know immediately that, and I just wanted to set up initially the things that was going on. So it's not normally a big deal that he informed a supervisor he didn't want to take a job. Yeah. But as we go on, there's going to be a lot of these little things that pop up that kind of make you wonder. So that's the little hint for the rest of the story.
Okay.
So he's running during the day, comes across this classroom he had recently visited, all these kids, and talks to him for a bit, tells him what's going on. Later that day, 2 employees of a camp along the trail saw a man who fit John's description jogging in the direction of the Baden Powell, confirming that he was still on track, essentially.
Okay.
Now we're going to fast forward to 6 p.m. that evening. A third camp employee spotted a man with a green pack heading towards the parking lot. So now we're at the point where we have a bunch of people seeing him heading to his destination. Now we have a guy heading back towards the parking lot. Shortly after that last sighting, a nearby resident told a park employee that he heard a single gunshot in the vicinity of the Punchbowl. So a little eeriness to set you up there.
Okay.
At 11 p.m. that night, Deborah, who is John's wife, reported that her husband was missing to the Palmdale Sheriff Station as he had failed to return after dark as promised, and 2 deputies drove to the Punchbowl immediately. They discovered the truck preserving it as possible crime scene and called for the department's search and rescue squad, which was deployed at 11:30 p.m. So the 2 deputies drove to the parking lot, found John's truck, and really didn't mess with it, and they called other people in right away.
We hear the report of a gunshot possibly at dusk, so
Yes.
like 8:30.
Mm-hmm.
He's reported missing at 11, and the search and rescue team is deployed by 11:30.
Yep, and they know it was they know the shot was shortly after the other park employee told them, because it was reported to another park employee and they were communicating over the radio.
So that's a pretty good turnaround time.
It's a good turnaround time, and you think you know what happened. And
Yeah.
that's kind of why I like this one, is it seems very clear cut that either he did something to himself or something happened, but it's gonna get pretty crazy as we go on.
Okay.
So I wanted to set it up with, you could think, okay, maybe something happens. So now we're on June 12th because they deployed at 11:30 at night. So they're searching through the night. Searchers from the SEB joined the effort, and that's the Special Enforcement Bureau from Los Angeles, as did 3 more search and rescue groups, the K-9 unit and the Sheriff's Emergency Services Detail. So there's a lot of people out right away looking for John.
Yeah.
His former partner on the SWAT team, David Rathbun, joined in the search, assuming John would reappear quickly. John's tough as nails, he remembers thinking. They'll find him and bring him out. He'll probably have a sprained or broken ankle. John's family members were confident he'd be able to withstand the harsh desert. His father-in-law told a story about how John scared off a 500-pound black bear when the 2 were camping in the Sierras. Yeah, so I mean, this guy's like, he'll be fine.
Yeah, that's what I would think. And I'm not even shocked to hear he was scaring bears away.
The bear's probably crying after the event.
Yeah.
The bear's got PTSD now. So as the day wore on, and we're on the next day on the 12th, as the day wore on, there were still no signs of John. His friends and family started to worry. David Rathbun, that's his friend, is quoted, "When OJ didn't come limping out of the wilderness within the first 24 hours, we got pretty antsy." So they searched through the whole day and started kind of losing hope at the end. So now we're on to June 13th. On this day, there were searchers from a nearby Air Force base and Army Black Hawk helicopters deployed near Mount Baden Powell, while additional helicopters, horses, all-terrain vehicles, thermal imaging equipment, and infrared technology were deployed as well to search the Punchbowl's ravines and crevices. Searchers were airlifted to mountaintops and some of the mines along the trail. Nothing was really ever found of John. So they took out all the stops, and if you do look at the pictures, there are a ton of places where one could potentially topple, fall, get lost.
Yeah.
I think of our unfortunate one with Paul in Joshua Tree where he was just off trail somewhere in a little crevice, and it took almost a year for them to find their remains. So you're thinking about that. And normally I would say that would be where we kind of leave it off, is maybe something happened. Maybe the gunshot wasn't related. He could have got injured, fell, got knocked out, something like that. Mm-hmm. But as we get into the theories and things we start needing to include is where you can start really getting what I always call going Hollywood on the story. So go ahead, Mike.
Oh, and I was just going to say, and yeah, I don't doubt that they probably pulled all the stops out during the search, being that he was a fellow law enforcement officer. Yeah. I think, it sounds like they had everybody out there. Mm-hmm. And you look at the map of this place, it's not a huge park.
It's not.
We're not talking Glacier or, Yellowstone or, something like that. It's a pretty small confined park. So,
and well-defined trails too. So it's not like you're out on your own. I mean, I think it's, the fact that he ran into so many people along the way, it's close to the city. I'm sure lots of people go there a lot. So it's not like he was out there.
Well-defined and, highly trafficked.
So a few interesting items that we need to include. John and his wife were married for 12 years, but were heading towards a divorce. They had a single daughter together who at the time of his disappearance was 5 years old. A month before he left his home for the last time, John had told Deborah that they thought they should go their separate ways. An ultra-marathoner named Vicky DeVita, whom John was dating, said to investigators that John had told her he planned to go on an overnight walkabout in the wilderness. Accompanied by a deputy friend of John, she spent the night in the Punchbowl calling for him, but nothing. So John tells his wife he's going for a run, but he tells his girlfriend, who he's essentially leaving his wife for, that he's going for an overnight walkabout in the wilderness. John had hoped to move in with Vicky and had requested she submit to an HIV test before the two consummated their relationship.
Did she have AIDS?
I don't know. They didn't stay, but like the fact that it started to paint this guy as kind of a goofy dude.
Yeah.
Like he's dating some girl. He's like, all right, before we consummate this, I want you to do an HIV test. Vicky died in 2010. Don't know what it was related to. I couldn't find that, but that was mentioned in the notes.
Okay.
So in the first week after John's disappearance, the department retrieved his dog Bosco from his house and boarded him at a kennel in Riverdale. Within 2 weeks, Bosco, who was 7, died. A spokesperson from the sheriff's department told reporters the cause was a ruptured artery, but his wife's mother was quoted saying Bosco had died of a broken heart. So that's just a sad part, but I think it's kind of poetic in a way how those two must have been so connected. And you've seen stories like that, like where the dog like almost can't handle it or can tell something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little tidbit, not really important to the case. I feel bad for the dog.
It's interesting. Yeah, that's too bad for the dog. It's amazing that they found it, but then it died.
Well, the dog wasn't with him. It was at his house.
Oh, he didn't take the dog on the hike with him?
No.
Okay, gotcha.
So the last thing Deborah remembers John saying, now this is the morning that he was leaving to go to the Punchbowl. The last thing she remembers him saying, and remember Deborah is his current wife, that they're headed towards divorce.
Yeah.
He said to her, have a nice life. Tell Chloe I love her. And Chloe's his 5-year-old daughter. So that's a little eerie.
That's not like I'm going to be gone for a day hike and I'll see you tonight.
Exactly.
That's kind of like I'll never see you again.
That's where you start thinking that's something you say if you're going to potentially off yourself. Like something, this guy is not right. Maybe he's got some issues from his time in the service or spending that many years on a special enforcement bureau with LA in some of the areas in LA that you can imagine the stuff he's seen and been through. So you mix those together, it could be bad juju. And you have, what is it, like 22 service members a day commit suicide on average? Like it's pretty sad.
It's a sad number.
Exactly. So he's probably been through a lot of stuff. Now you add in all that. So you start thinking, okay, this sounds like a guy who's going to go off in the wilderness in a place he enjoys and just be done with life.
Yeah.
So Debbie spoke to a private investigator to find out whether John was cheating on her, but she did abandon that line of inquiry after learning that it would cost her $500. Soon she began to think her husband's goodbye seemed like that of a man planning to kill himself. In retrospect, she thought John had been acting differently. There had been a cold, intense look in his eye the final time she saw him, and a month before, during an argument about their relationship, He held a loaded gun to his temple as he drove on the freeway, and he screamed, "What do you want me to do? Kill myself?" Shocked, Deborah burst into tears in the passenger seat.
I would say that's more than just acting a little strange or
Oh
differently.
yeah, there's a stability issue there. So something's going on in this guy's life.
I don't think it's normal for people to hold a loaded gun to their head and
No, not
yell.
at all.
That's
No.
yeah. I
While
would
driving
say,
a car on a freeway?
yeah, I would say that's more than just acting a little differently, but maybe you get used to somebody acting, strange if they're like that way for a while. I don't know. That just seems incredibly bizarre to me.
Absolutely. And on top of it, you have this thing too, and this is something that's very typical, or at least I've seen, of people who are going to commit suicide, and they start giving away personal belongings or things that they feel belong to them. So he had packed up his running medals as well as climbing and hiking memorabilia that he had been on the wall of a spare room, and returned a family heirloom bookshelf to his in-laws. John also gave a gold necklace to his father, to Davida, and that's the lady who was dating.
Yeah.
So he's giving away all of his personal stuff to people he cares about. So that's going to bring us into the full theories.